click off of this video if you don't think there's a possibility that giants once ruled, or not even say ruled, once roamed this earth. I didn't say they did. I said possibility. And I mean strong possibility, though, that they once roamed this earth. Click off this video. This ain't for you. This one is for us. There might be some new information that we about to check out. So we're going to get into this video. This video is they found a giant in Siberia. What happened next is still unexplained. Let's check it out.
Mysterious creatures humanity has been fascinated with are giants. These creatures are behemoths that completely tower over us. Yet for beings far larger than life, it seems like they left few to no traces at all. Or perhaps proof of their existence was cleverly hidden? From 10-foot-tall bones to giant prehistoric creatures, here are 20 discoveries that prove giants actually exist. Number 20. The 10-foot-tall bones found in Nevada's Lovelock Cave. Bat guano, or bat droppings, are used as incredibly valuable fertilizer. Lovelock Cave in Nevada was one of the places where this guano could be found. It was during the search for this product that miners in 1911 stumbled upon bizarre skeletons. Human skeletons that just so happened to be 8 to 10 feet tall. The excavations in 1912 and 1924 unearthed thousands of artifacts, including tools, bones, and massive skeletons. Among the most striking finds were 15-inch-long sandals, well worn from use, and a boulder with what appeared to be a large handprint engraved on it. In 1931, further discoveries were made in a dry lakebed near Lovelock. 2 more giant skeletons measuring 8.5 and 10 feet. Now these finds have puzzled archaeologists. You see, these skeletons weren't only tall, but they also had red hair. This makes the skeletons fit the description of the Sitka, or the red-haired giants. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now. Number 19. The red-haired giants. According to the legends of the Paiute tribe, the Sitka were a race of red-haired giants who once inhabited the area around what is now known as Lovelock Cave. These giants, standing over 10 feet tall, were said to be ferocious. These behemoths knew how to fight, and they also had a penchant for consuming human flesh. Their prey? The local tribes, along with the Paiute. The legends describe how the Paiute, after enduring the terror of the giants for generations, finally banded together with other tribes to defeat them. The climax of this struggle occurred at Lovelock Cave, where the tribes trapped the Sitka, set the entrance on fire, and left them to perish. Now, it was allegedly the bones of these giants that researchers discovered in Lovelock Cave back in 1911. Of course, many were skeptical. After all, coincidences can happen. Some scholars suggest that the hair color could be a result of burial conditions. However, others believe that the red hair found on the skeletons along with their height supports the idea that the alleged man-eating red-haired giants living near the Lovelock Cave truly once existed. Number 18. The footprint of a giant in South Africa. In the remote Mpumalanga region of South Africa, near the town of Umpholozi, there's a giant indent on a cliff wall. This is allegedly one of the pieces of evidence that giants truly roamed our planet in the past. This feature, known as the giant's footprint or the Goliath's footprint, was discovered in 1912 by a hunter named Stoffel Coetzee. It measures about 1.2 meters or 4 feet in length, and strangely enough, bears a striking resemblance to a human foot, complete with clearly defined toes and a heel.
I was about to say, not a striking resemblance. There is a... you might as well say that is a human, because I can almost count. You can see the big toe, the next toe, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. You can see them all clearly. So it's not a striking resemblance. It's a whole resemblance of a human foot right there, fam. Like, and if you find that, to me, that says a lot, bro. It was people walking around bigger than Shaq. Shaq foot ain't even that big right there, bro.
However, that's not the only thing that makes this feature so bizarre. You see, the footprint is etched into a type of granite known as Umpholozi batholith, which geologists estimate to be around 3.1 billion years old. With its shape and the type of rock it was found in, this footprint has since convinced many to believe in the existence of giants. While some suggest that this feature merely formed due to natural erosion, others believe that billions of years ago, a giant being stepped foot on this cliff wall and left.
It even has the like curvature. I know a lot of y'all looking at that same thing as like, man, I want to say that it's not real. But if I look at my foot and look at that indentation, it looks similar, so close to my foot. Only thing, my foot just ain't that big. But it has the curvature outline, just like my foot. So, like, come on, man. Like, sometimes we be searching for something to be right in front of our faces. And we want to be like, we want to toss it out, want to rule it out and say that this isn't real. Well, prove to me it ain't real.
Left this indent for us to see. Today, the giant's footprint is now believed to be a sacred site by many visitors who often leave coins in the heel of the footprint, hoping for good fortune. Number 17. The giants encountered by Magellan. Ferdinand Mellan is a renowned Portuguese navigator and explorer. From Spain, he sailed around South America and discovered what is now known as the Strait of Magellan. For 3 years, he voyaged around the Earth and achieved the first circumnavigation of the planet in history. He recorded a lot of things about his journey, and one of the most intriguing ones in his writings is about giants. In 1520, Ferdinand Mellan was sailing along the coast of what is now Patagonia, Argentina, where he encountered real-life giants. Or at least, that's what he believed. As the story goes, the crew spotted a gigantic figure dancing and singing on the shore. Instead of sailing away, Magellan sent one of his men to make contact with the giant, who luckily turned out to be friendly despite towering so high that the tallest European only reached his waist. At the time, 5 feet 6 inches was considered the average height of people in Europe. Yet this being, now known as the Patagonian giant, towered over them at a height of over 10 feet. Magellan named these beings Patagones, a term possibly derived from the Portuguese word pata, meaning foot, inspired by the large footprints the giants left behind. Magellan might have been great at voyaging, but one must admit he wasn't very creative in giving nicknames. Before leaving, Magellan even attempted to bring 2 of these giants back to Spain as proof of his discovery, but unfortunately, they did not survive the journey. Again, that's according to existing writings, which of course came from Magellan and his crew. While some believe that the story is an oral story that was exaggerated as it was passed down, others believe that the navigator truly had a brush with giant beings. Number 16. The Graveyard of Giants in China. In 2017, experts announced the discovery of giants in China. However, contrary to what you're thinking, these skeletons only measured 5 feet 9 inches tall. While that might not sound too impressive in today's time, 5,000 years ago, these men might have been the tallest out of everyone in the region. Researchers believe that the remarkable height of these individuals can be attributed to their high-status positions within their society. After all, these taller individuals likely had access to better nutrition, thanks to their proximity to millet crops and a varied diet, which contributed to their exceptional growth. These skeletons might not belong to the conventional giants, but they're still pretty impressive, don't you think? Number 15.
Now all I can hear in the back of my mind is my mom saying stuff like, don't mess with that, it'll stunt your growth. Don't do that, it'll stunt your growth. Don't do that. And back then, it was like that. You had access to better food, you probably grew. You didn't, you probably were short, and different things like that. So that's an interesting theory, and that's all I can hear was my mom echoing in the back of my head.
15. A giant snake? The mystery of the Serpent Mound. The Serpent Mound in Adams County, Ohio is one of the most enigmatic and fascinating prehistoric effigy mounds in North America. Spanning about 1,348 feet in length and 3 feet in height, this mound is shaped like a serpent with a coiled tail and a mouth that appears to be holding an oval-shaped object. For so long, we've been trying to learn the secret behind this effigy. Initially, it was attributed to the Adena culture that flourished around 1000 BCE to 200 CE due to nearby burial mounds containing Adena artifacts. However, radiocarbon dating of charcoal samples from the mound suggests it might have been constructed around 1070 CE, which aligns with the late prehistoric Fort Ancient culture. Aside from its origin, we still don't know just what exactly this effigy means, but we do have theories. Some believe that this mound was used for astrology. The head of the serpent aligns with the sunset during the summer solstice, while other parts of the mound align with the winter solstice sunrise and the equinoxes. Some researchers, however, suggest that these alignments indicate the mound was used to mark the passage of time and the changing seasons. Others, however, believe that this mound was made after the likeness of a giant serpent that once roamed around the region in the past. Number 14. The Giants of Solomon Island. The Solomon Islands are an archipelago in the South Pacific. In the wilderness of this region are allegedly giants that continue to thrive in the jungles and remote mountainous regions. Described as towering beings over 10 feet tall with muscular builds, long dark hair, and distinctive facial features, these giants are something even locals are familiar with. According to local legends, the Solomon Island giants are not just mythical figures, but were once real inhabitants of the islands. Indigenous people have passed down stories of these giants for generations, detailing encounters that include their imposing physical presence, characterized by broad shoulders, flat noses, wide mouths, and often red eyes. In fact, during World War II, Japanese soldiers stationed on the islands reported encounters with these giants, describing them as aggressive and sometimes cannibalistic. Eyewitness reports from islanders are numerous and consistent, often describing the giants' nocturnal activities and occasional raids on human settlements. Some reports even include footprints measuring up to 4 feet long and sightings of giant bones. Unfortunately, none of these claims have been scientifically verified. Despite the numerous accounts and local beliefs, the existence of the Solomon Island giants remains unproven. At the same time, their existence has not been dismissed. And so, until we explore the entirety of the Solomon Islands, we're free to speculate about these beings. Number 13. The Ohio Grassman. The Grassman, also known as the Ohio Grassman, is one of Ohio's most legendary cryptids, often described as a Bigfoot-like creature, but with distinct characteristics and behaviors. Sightings of this elusive being date back to the 19th century, with the first recorded encounter in 1869. Now, this creature allegedly stands at about 7 to 9 feet tall and weighs a staggering 300 pounds. It's covered in dark matted hair and is noted for its large human-like build. This being is similar to Bigfoot, but unlike Sasquatch, the Grassman is known for constructing nests out of tall grass, hence its name. In fact, these nests are one of the things that allegedly prove the existence of the Grassman. You see, these hut-like structures are often found in the fields and forests of Ohio, particularly around Salt Fork State Park, which coincidentally is also a hot spot for Grassman sightings. Witnesses have reported seeing the creature hunting in packs, a behavior not commonly associated with other Sasquatch sightings. While concrete evidence of the Grassman remains elusive, the legend continues to thrive, drawing cryptid enthusiasts and researchers to Ohio in hopes of finally capturing this elusive creature. Number 12. The Giant Spider of Congo. Giant humans were...
Now, this is something I wish and hope that is not real, doesn't exist, or has ever existed. This one right here. Hate spiders.
Weren't the only giants that allegedly existed. There are also the giants of the animal kingdom. Let's start with the giant spider of Congo, known as the Chiba-fofi, or simply the giant spider. This creature has been part of local lore since the early 20th century. One of the first documented encounters occurred in the 1930s when a British couple, Reginald and Marguerite Lloyd, reported seeing a massive spider while traveling through the Congo. They described it as a tarantula-like creature that darted across the road in front of their vehicle. This horrifying creature has also been described as having a dark brown hairy body. These massive spiders are also known to build large webs between trees and dig burrows beneath these webs, camouflaging them with leaves and debris. Their primary prey? Forest animals such as birds and antelopes. Imagine an arachnid so massive that it's capable of consuming an antelope. Local legends also tell of tribesmen who have fallen victim to these giant webs, meeting a grisly end at the fangs of the waiting spider. Despite these compelling stories, skeptics argue that the Chiba-fofi could simply be a case of misidentification or exaggeration. After all, the largest arachnid we've identified so far only measures a mere 12 inches. Is it truly possible that a spider spanning several feet wide lurks in the jungles undetected? I'll let you be the judge. Number 11. 50-foot Congo Snake. In 1959, Colonel Remy van Leerde, a Belgian pilot, was flying over the Katanga region of the Congo when he saw something he couldn't quite believe: a giant snake. By giant, I mean a serpent that measured over 50 feet long. Now, this claim isn't mere legend. You see, Colonel Remy somehow managed to snap a photo of the alleged giant snake. This image, though grainy and ambiguous, has been analyzed extensively. Some enthusiasts, like biologist Ivan Sanderson, even claimed the snake might have been as long as 200 feet based on comparison with nearby objects in the photo. Despite these claims, the existence of such a large snake remains unverified. The largest known snakes today, such as the green anaconda and the reticulated python, can reach lengths of 20 to 30 feet, far shorter than the supposed 50-foot Congo snake. Even so, many continue to believe that this giant snake once existed in the Congo's wilderness. Number 10. The first complete skeleton with gigantism. In 2012, archaeologists discovered a complete skeleton of an ancient Roman giant. Dating back to the 3rd century AD, this skeleton measures a staggering 6 feet 8 inches tall. Now, for reference, the average Roman male at the time would have only stood at about 5 feet 6 inches, making this man a giant towering among his peers. Researchers believe that the man suffered from a condition known as gigantism. This condition is usually caused by an overproduction of growth hormone, usually due to a pituitary gland tumor, which leads to excessive growth during childhood. This condition is rare, affecting about 3 people in a million. It's likely that in the past, it was even rarer, making this man a unique sight in ancient Rome. Number 9.
Just imagine how they felt, though. You know what I mean? Because that pretty much makes you the outcast. When you grow to be those heights, you know, and you're not, I know it's bad in today's time, but I can imagine it was way worse back then. Being an outcast. Things probably happening to you. You probably not being allowed to be with the family or be fed. You having to probably fend for yourself, go out on your own. Like, it was probably really, really bad for them back then, I can imagine.
The 40-foot-long snake. In the lush, swampy jungles of what is now Colombia, there was a giant snake that lived in the prehistoric era, the Great Titanoboa. This snake is the largest one ever discovered, stretching an astonishing 42 to 50 feet and weighing over 2,500 pounds. This 40-foot-long serpent was unearthed from the Cerrejón coal mines in 2009 by a team of researchers led by Dr. Jonathan Block of the University of Florida and Dr. Carlos Jaramillo of the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. Titanoboa resembled modern-day boas and anacondas, but on a much larger scale. Its massive size suggests it was a constrictor, using its powerful muscles to subdue prey. Can you imagine just how powerful this snake was? With its size alone, it would have easily dominated large prey. Now, can you imagine what would have happened if only this creature had managed to adapt to the changing planet? I bet the wilderness of Colombia would be far different than what it is today. Number 8. One of the heaviest mammals that ever lived. Continuing with the largest creatures that ever lived, we have the Berry Lambda, a true gentle giant that lived during the Paleocene epoch. This large herbivorous mammal roamed North America around 58 to 55 million years ago, shortly after the extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. At the time, this creature was the largest mammal living on land. Berry Lambda was a robust creature with a body length of about 8 to 10 feet and an estimated weight of around 2,000 pounds. The first fossils of this giant mammal were discovered in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in North America. These fossils, primarily found in Wyoming and Colorado, include well-preserved skeletal remains that have allowed paleontologists to reconstruct the animal's appearance and lifestyle. Just like the largest dinosaurs that have lived in the past, the Berry Lambda was an herbivore with a diet that likely consisted of leaves, fruits, and possibly aquatic plants. Fossil evidence indicates that Berry Lambda inhabited lush, forested regions near rivers and lakes. This habitat would have offered a rich supply of vegetation and water, essential for sustaining large herbivores. Number 7. The largest crocodile that ever lived. Crocodiles today are monstrous, but did you know that in the past, far more ferocious versions of these beings roamed our planet? Meet the Berinosuchus. This colossal predator roamed the rivers and swamps in the ancient landscapes of South America during the Miocene epoch, around 13 to 9 million years ago. Fossils of this giant have been found primarily in what is now Venezuela. This species was first described in 2007 by a team of paleontologists who discovered its remains in the Uramaco Formation of Venezuela. Berinosuchus is estimated to have reached lengths of up to 33 feet, making it one of the largest crocodiliforms known. Unlike modern crocodiles, which have relatively flat skulls, Berinosuchus had a high, narrow skull with serrated teeth, which are best for tearing through flesh, no matter how tough it is. As an apex predator, Berinosuchus would have been at the top of the food chain in its environment. Its diet likely consisted of large vertebrates, including prehistoric mammals, reptiles, and perhaps other crocodiliforms. Imagine just how ferocious a behemoth it was if it was a being capable of preying on other crocs as well. Number 6. Prehistoric armadillos the size of a Mini Cooper. About 2.5 million to 10,000 years ago, armadillos roamed the vast plains of South America. Armadillos the size of Mini Coopers. Yes, you heard that right. Glyptodon was truly a giant among prehistoric mammals. It measured up to 10 feet in length and could weigh as much as 2 tons. Fossils of Glyptodon have been found primarily in South America, particularly in Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. These creatures thrived in a variety of environments, from open grasslands to more wooded areas. Its most striking feature was its large dome-shaped carapace made of bony plates called osteoderms. Unlike the armadillos we see today, this creature had a carapace resembling the modern turtle. However, despite their size, these creatures were true gentle giants. They never sought prey, as they were herbivores, feeding on grasses and other plants in the plains. However, despite its formidable armor, Glyptodon was not immune to predation. The Pleistocene epoch was home to several large predators, including saber-toothed cats and giant short-faced bears. With the rise of man and the changing planet, Glyptodons stood no chance and were eventually driven to extinction. Number 5. One of the largest flying birds ever to exist. Imagine a Cessna 152 plane soaring through the sky. Not quite frightening. Now imagine a bird of the same size. Horrifying, right? Such a creature truly existed about 6.
A creature that size like that, it gotta eat humans. Bro, you that big, it gotta eat humans. What else is gonna fill their belly up? You gotta wanna look at me and be like, yeah, I'll eat him too. Yeah, I might as well.
6 million years ago, during the late Miocene epoch. This creature is the great Argentine bird, one of the largest flying birds ever discovered. The Argentavis was not just impressive in size, with a wingspan reaching up to 23 feet and weighing between 154 to 216 pounds. When upright, it stood about 5 to 6 feet tall. Imagine a bird standing as tall as a human adult. Living in the grassy plains and forests of what is now Argentina, Argentavis was primarily a scavenger. Its sharp beak and powerful talons allowed it to tear apart carrion, feeding on the remains of large mammals that roamed the land. Scientists believe that a long time ago, these creatures used their size and strength to intimidate smaller predators and steal their catch. After all, these creatures needed to consume a staggering 5 to 11 pounds of meat to sustain their enormous body. Number 4. One of the ocean's heavyweights. The king lizard, the Basilosaurus, was a marine mammal that once roamed the ancient seas around 40 to 34 million years ago during the late Eocene epoch. Now, it might have earned the title of being the king lizard, but this creature is actually an early whale. Basilosaurus was an impressive predator, reaching lengths of up to 60 feet and weighing around 10 tons. Its body was long and eel-like, which led some scientists to speculate that it swam with an undulating motion similar to eels. Unlike the streamlined bodies of today's whales, Basilosaurus had a relatively small brain for its size, which meant it wasn't as social as the whales we see today. However, what it lacked in number and social coordination, it made up for in jaw strength and teeth. Number 3. The Great Megalodon. Megalodon, one of the largest creatures that ever existed. This giant shark ruled the oceans from about 23 to 2.6 million years ago during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs. Megalodon thrived in warm, shallow seas that covered much.
Let's say thrives, because some of us still believes he lives and exists. So let's say existed, don't say existed, say exists and thrives. Not once thrived or something like that. No, because he still lives. I believe it.
Much of the planet during its reign. This creature reached a length of over 60 feet, the same size as 2 school buses, making it one of the longest creatures to have ever lived. Megalodon was also a heavyweight, weighing as much as 50 tons. Needless to say, Megalodon still stands as the largest shark to have ever lived. With its size, this species boasted the most powerful bite of any creature. Scientists have estimated its bite force to be between 10.8 and 18.2 tons, enough to crush the skull of a prehistoric whale like a grape. For reference, this bite force is significantly stronger than the bite force of the Tyrannosaurus rex. I guess its name Megalodon, which translates to big tooth, is for a good reason. Its teeth could grow over 7 inches long, about the size of a human hand, and were serrated for slicing through flesh and bone. These massive teeth are among the most common fossils found, often prized by collectors for their size and variety of colors. Unfortunately, just like many of the giant creatures that once lived, the Megalodon was a species that failed to adapt to the changing planet, leading to their extinction. However, to this day, many continue to believe that this behemoth continues to lurk in the abyss, in the deepest part of the ocean where light never reaches. Number 2. The Hand of a Giant. In the Pangbache Monastery in Nepal lies the Pangbache Hand, an artifact that allegedly belongs to a giant being, particularly the Yeti. The Pangbache Hand is named after the Pangbache Monastery in Nepal, where it was housed for many years. The hand is a skeletal relic, roughly resembling a human hand. The monks of the monastery revered this artifact, believing it to be from the abominable snowman. In the 1950s, the Pangbache hand came to the attention of Westerners through expeditions to the Himalayas. The artifact further gained attention when in 1957, explorer Peter Byrne took photographs and partial samples of the hand. Byrne later facilitated the theft of a few bones from the hand, smuggling them out of Nepal with the help of actor James Stewart, who hid the bones in his wife's luggage during a flight to London. The stolen bones eventually made their way to the United States, where they were analyzed by primatologist William Charles Osmond Hill. Hill's analysis suggested that the bones did not match any known human or primate species. This immediately shut down skeptics who were confident that the alleged hand merely belonged to a giant mammal. But from which creature was the hand truly from? Unfortunately, the limited sample size made it impossible to determine which creature the hand belonged to. Today, however, many believe that the Pangbache hand truly is the hand of a Yeti. And now it's time for today's topic. They found a giant in Siberia, and what happens next is still unexplained. In this photo, you can see an alleged giant creature lurking in an ice wall. We have yet to determine just what this creature is, but many are compelled to believe that this is a gigantic creature that thrived in Siberia without our knowledge. According to Bergman's rule, colder climates spawn bigger bodies because a larger build helps retain heat, unlike smaller bodies that help shed it. Essentially, according to this principle, the colder the climate is, the more the creature's body mass increases. Following Bergman's rule, it's possible that a gigantic creature is lurking in the colder parts of our planet.
If that's the case, then when we go and do discoveries in Antarctica and different places, we're going to find buried in that coal, and probably well preserved in that coal, a lot of giants. If it reigns true that they once existed, maybe not a lot, but we may find at least a good bit there.
Waiting to be identified and discovered. Number 1. The Giant of Castano. In 1890, in the small French town of Castano-le-Lay, anthropologist Georges Vacher de la Poge discovered 3 enormous bone fragments while excavating a Bronze Age cemetery. He claimed that these fragments belonged to a giant, a being that's now referred to as the Giant of Castano. The bone fragments included a humerus, tibia, and femur, all significantly larger than those of an average human. Bécher de la Poge estimated that if the bones were indeed human, the individual would have stood between 11 to 12 feet tall. Detailed measurements of the bones indicated that they were much thicker and longer than those of an average human. For instance, the humerus was 14 inches long. Such proportions are not typical even among the tallest humans known from history, which further fueled the debate about the bone's origins. While this discovery sounds groundbreaking, from the very beginning, it was met with skepticism. You see, the idea of a human of such immense size existing in relatively recent prehistory was hard for many to accept. Critics pointed out that the bone deformation, misidentification, or even deliberate hoaxes could account for the oversized bones. Despite these criticisms, Lepage insisted that the bones were human, particularly an exceptionally large individual. In the years following the initial discovery, several attempts were made to validate Lepage's claims. However, the bones themselves were lost during the turmoil of World War II, making direct analysis impossible. This loss left a gap in the evidence that could have conclusively determined whether the bones belonged to a giant human or were misidentified fragments of another large vertebrate. And so, to this day, the Giant of Castano remains a mystery. Were they truly lost in history or deliberately misplaced to hide the fake nature of the bones? The verdict is still out on this one. With these discoveries, giants existing on our planet a long time ago doesn't really sound impossible.